Welcome to my channel. Try to hear the latest story.
She laughed at my suggestion, brushing it off with a wave of her manicured hand. "You're sweet for offering, but I've got this," she said, turning back to the mirror to adjust her earrings. I stood in the doorway of our bathroom, watching her prepare for yet another girl's trip to Miami, the third one this year. The counter was cluttered with high-end makeup palettes and serums I'd never heard of until the credit card statements arrived. My fiancée had always loved attention. When we met 4 years ago at a mutual friend's barbecue, she was vibrant, quick-witted, the kind of woman who could command a room without trying. I fell hard for that energy. I was the steady one, software engineer, predictable schedule, the guy who paid bills on time and remembered to rotate the tires. She called me her rock. I liked that. But over the last 18 months, something shifted. Her weekends away grew longer. The stories about her friends felt rehearsed. And the new guy in her circle, Derek, started appearing in every group photo she posted. Tall, tattooed, always wearing vintage band tees and a knowing smirk. He was a music producer, which seemed to mean he spent most nights DJing at underground clubs and most days recovering on someone's couch. I first met him 6 months ago when he crashed one of our rare quiet evenings at home. She'd invited him over just to hang, she said. He walked in like he owned the place, kicked off his boots on my hardwood floor, and helped himself to the craft beer I'd been saving. "Nice setup, bro," he told me, gesturing at the living room I'd spent years curating. "Very corporate chic." She giggled at that. Actually giggled. I smiled tightly and went to the kitchen to order pizza, because apparently we were feeding him now. That night, while I cleaned up after they'd disappeared onto the balcony to talk about a collaboration, I overheard her telling him how refreshing it was to be around someone who understood creativity. Someone who didn't treat life like a spreadsheet that I pretended I hadn't heard. The trips escalated. First it was bachelorette parties for friends I'd never met. Then wellness retreats. Then spontaneous long weekends because the vibes were right. Each time I paid for the flights, the hotel suites, the bottle service, whatever kept her happy. I told myself it was temporary. Once wedding planning settled down, once she felt secure, she'd calm down. We'd get back to us. I was wrong. The real fracture happened during her cousin's destination wedding in Tulum. She'd been talking about it for months. An exclusive resort, all-white dress code for the welcome party on the beach, influencers and models flying in from everywhere. She needed the perfect wardrobe. I maxed out another card so she could have it. I wasn't invited to the wedding itself. "It's family and close friends only," she explained gently, kissing my cheek. "But you can drive me to the airport and pick me up when I get back. It'll be our little ritual." I should have seen the red flag waving like a surrender flag. Instead, I drove her to the terminal at 5 a.m., helped unload 3 suitcases that weighed more than she did, and kissed her goodbye. "Have the best time," I told her. "Send me photos." She did send photos. Hundreds of them. Group shots by infinity pools, sunset dinners, dancing barefoot in the sand. And in nearly every frame, Derek was right beside her, his arm draped casually over her shoulders, her head tilted toward him like gravity had shifted. The final night, the resort hosted a white linen beach party. She posted a story, a video of the crowd in flowing outfits, fairy lights strung between palm trees, champagne flowing. Then a photo appeared on her feed, her and Derek front and center, laughing, her hand on his chest. The caption read, "Pure magic with my favorite person." I stared at that caption for a long time. I didn't rage. I didn't call her crying. I just sat on the couch in our silent condo and felt something inside me quietly detach. She flew home 2 days later, tanned and glowing, carrying duty-free bags filled with tequila and souvenirs. I picked her up at arrivals like always. She hugged me tightly, smelling of coconut and someone else's cologne. "You won't believe how incredible it was," she gushed in the car. "The energy was just everything." I nodded. "Looks like it." She kept talking, scrolling through her camera roll to show me highlights. When Derek's face filled the screen for the 10th time, she paused, then quickly swiped past. "He's honestly become such a good friend," she said a little too brightly. "He gets the vision." I kept my eyes on the road. "Glad you had fun." That night, she fell asleep early, jet-lagged. I lay awake beside her, listening to her breathe, and realized I didn't feel jealous anymore. I felt tired, bone-deep exhausted from carrying a relationship that had become a one-man operation. The next morning, she announced she was heading to a content day with Derek and a few others. They were shooting a promotional video for a swimwear brand at a rooftop pool downtown. "It's professional," she assured me, sensing my silence. "You could come if you want. Watch from the side." I almost said no, but something in me, the same stubborn part that had paid for every trip, every dress, every dream, wanted to see it through. I wanted to witness exactly how far this had gone. "I'll come," I said. She looked surprised, then pleased. "Really? That's sweet. Just maybe wear something neutral?" The backdrop is very minimalist. I wore a plain white button-down and khakis, clean, pressed, respectful. The rooftop was stunning, city skyline in every direction, turquoise pool reflecting the midday sun, white lounge chairs arranged in perfect symmetry. A small crew milled around, photographer, assistant, a couple of models. Derek was already there, shirtless in linen pants, directing people with the confidence of someone who'd never been told no. When we arrived, my fiancée slipped her hand from mine and floated toward him. He greeted her with a hug that lasted 3 seconds too long. Then he glanced at me. "Hey man," he said, offering a lazy fist bump. "You're the fiancée, right? Cool of you to come support." I returned the bump. Wouldn't miss it. They started setting up shots. She changed into a barely there white bikini that left very little to imagination. I sat on a lounge chair near the edge, out of everyone's way, watching the choreography unfold. Derek adjusted her pose constantly, hand on her lower back, fingers brushing her hip, tilting her chin with practiced intimacy. Each touch looked natural to them, familiar. The photographer called for a group shot with all the models. My fiancée waved me over. "Babe, come stand with us. It'll be cute." I walked over. The group arranged itself. Beautiful people in white, laughing, effortless. I stood slightly behind her, my hand resting lightly on her waist. The photographer lifted the camera. She shifted away from me, subtly but unmistakably, leaning toward Derek instead. Then she turned her head. "Hey," she said, voice light but firm, loud enough for the others to hear. "Could you maybe step back a bit? You're kind of throwing off the symmetry." Derek chuckled under his breath. One of the models hid a smile. I looked at her. Really looked. The woman I'd proposed to under string lights in our backyard. The one who'd cried happy tears when I got down on one knee. She wasn't looking back at me with love or even embarrassment. She was looking at me like an obstacle. "You want me out of the shot?" I asked quietly. She sighed, exasperated. "It's just for the brand, okay? The aesthetic is very clean. You're blocking the light a little." The photographer lowered the camera awkwardly. Someone coughed. I nodded once. "Got it." I stepped back. Not dramatically, not angrily. Just calmly removed myself from the frame and walked to where I'd left my phone and keys on a side table. I picked them up, slipped my phone into my pocket, and kept walking toward the elevator. I didn't look back. Behind me, I heard her laugh, a forced, bright sound, as the shutter started clicking again. The elevator doors closed on the sound of their joy. I drove home in silence. No music, no podcast, just the hum of tires on pavement and the sudden, overwhelming clarity of a man who has finally stopped lying to himself. When I reached our condo, I didn't sit on the couch and stew. I moved. I started in the bedroom. Her side of the closet was a museum of my financial devotion, designer dresses, limited edition sneakers, silk robes still in garment bags. I pulled out the collapsible moving boxes I'd stored in the garage for someday and began filling them methodically. Dresses folded neatly, shoes paired and boxed, jewelry trays emptied into a padded pouch. I didn't damage anything. I didn't slash or burn. I simply relocated her life to the hallway outside our door. Next came the bathroom. Shelves of skincare worth more than my first laptop, drawers of makeup, the diffuser she insisted purified the air. All of it went into labeled boxes. By late afternoon, 23 boxes lined the corridor, stacked with precision. I changed the Wi-Fi password to something long and random. I removed her fingerprint from the building's security system, using the management app. I transferred the upcoming rent payment from our joint account to cover only my half, then initiated closure of the joint account entirely, and my phone began buzzing around 6. First texts from her. Where are you? We're wrapping up. Then, hello? You just disappeared. Then calls I let go to voicemail. Then panic. Babe, I'm sorry if that came out harsh. I was stressed about the shot. Come back please. I didn't reply. An hour later, a text from her friend Vanessa. She's freaking out. You can't just leave her downtown with no ride. I typed back once. She told me I was ruining the symmetry. So I removed myself. She has Derek. He produces things. I'm sure he can produce an Uber. Then I blocked Vanessa. Blocked her. Blocked Derek's number, which I'd saved from a group thread months ago. I made dinner. Steak. Roasted vegetables. A glass of the good red I'd been saving for a celebration that never came. I ate at the dining table alone, and the quiet felt like breathing after years underwater. Around 10 that night, the intercom buzzed. Her voice, tinny through the speaker. Let me up. We need to talk. I pressed the button. Your things are in the hall. Take what you need. Open the door. She was crying now. This is insane. You're overreacting. I didn't respond. I turned off the intercom. Through the peephole, I watched her drag boxes into the elevator and trips. Derek helping reluctantly, muttering complaints I couldn't hear. Eventually, the hallway emptied and I slept better than I had in years. The weeks that followed were a revelation. Without her expenses, flights, shopping sprees, brand investments, late-night Postmates, my bank account began to recover at startling speed. I paid down cards. I increased my 401k contribution. I bought myself the mechanical keyboard I'd been eyeing for 2 years. I started climbing again. Indoor bouldering 3 nights a week. My body changed. My mind sharpened. Friends I hadn't seen in months reached out, surprised when I accepted invitations. The flying monkeys came. Of course her sister called. She's staying with mom and she's devastated. Whatever happened, you guys can work it out. I thanked her for her concern and ended the call. A mutual friend. Dude, she says you threw her out with no warning. That's cold. I replied. She had plenty of warning. She just didn't think I'd ever follow through. Then silence. 3 months later, I was promoted to lead engineer. The raise was significant. I put an offer on a sleek 1-bedroom loft in the Arts District. Exposed brick, high ceilings, a balcony with a view of the river. The day the offer was accepted, I treated myself to dinner at the steakhouse downtown. While waiting for dessert, I ran into Lauren, someone I'd known casually through work events. She was sharp, kind, actually interested when she asked how I was. We talked for 2 hours. I gave her my new number. A week after closing on the loft, my phone rang from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but answered anyway. It was her. I used a friend's phone, she said immediately, voice small. I knew you'd blocked mine. I stayed silent. I'm at the coffee shop on Riverside, the one with the blue awning. I don't have anywhere to stay tonight. Things with Derek fell apart. He wasn't who I thought. I made a terrible mistake. A long pause. I miss you. I miss how safe I felt. How you always took care of everything. I didn't appreciate it. But I do now. Please, can we just talk? 5 minutes. The coffee shop was 4 blocks from my new building. I could walk there easily. I stood on my balcony. City lights glittering below. Cool breeze carrying the scent of the river. I thought about the woman who'd once been my future. I thought about the man I was becoming without her. I walked to the coffee shop. She was at a corner table, nursing a small black coffee. No fancy oat milk latte. Her hair was pulled back messily, roots showing. She wore an old hoodie, mine actually, that swallowed her frame. Dark circles under her eyes. She looked smaller. When she saw me, hope flickered across her face. She started to stand. I stayed near the door, hands in my pockets. You came, she whispered. I'm in the neighborhood, I said evenly. Closing went smoothly. New place has great light. She winced. You bought it. I did. She gestured weakly to the chair opposite her. Please sit. I didn't move. You have 5 minutes. Tears welled immediately. I messed up. I got caught up in the attention, the lifestyle. Derek made everything feel exciting, but it was all fake. He used me, took advantage. I see that now. She reached for my hand. I kept it in my pocket. I was stupid. I took you for granted. But I know what we had was real. You were always there for me. I want that back. I'll change. I'll get a job, contribute. We can start fresh in your new place. No, I said. Just that. Calm. Final. Her face crumpled. Please. I'm scared. I have nothing right now. You have exactly what you chose, I said. Excitement. Tension. Someone who made you feel like a star. You wanted to be the center of the frame. Now you are. I looked at her fully, tired eyes, trembling hands, wearing my old clothes like a shield. I'm moving forward, I continued quietly, building a life that fits me, peaceful, intentional, and honestly, I paused, letting the words settle. You just don't match the vision anymore. She stared, mouth open, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. My own words, once used to dismiss me, now returned with perfect precision. I turned and walked out. The night air felt clean. I didn't look back. I went home to my loft, poured a drink on my new balcony, and watched the city breathe. For the first time in years, I felt entirely, unshakably present in my own life. And it was enough.